Have the recording going, and we'll just take a look. Just be a minute or so here while I'm trying to find something to say. First off, when you have the time to do it, usually it's going to be good to go and place a trap just right up near the start here. You don't always have to, but you could. Sometimes you can put it at the front gate. That's going to work even up until like you see it happen even in top 500. The people walking into that stuff. So just when you get near the doorway, try to crouch a little bit. That way people don't hear you. But you could also put it another good spot is to just like place it right here on this corner. That way you can maybe get an early pick, early damage, and then if you wanted, you could always like just sit up here and place another trap like as soon as that one gets triggered, and then or like right after it's done, right after they run out, and then I believe that the cooldown starts like right after you place it, so you'll be able to get another one down immediately. Alright, so let's see, when do we place that? Alright, well, we placed that a while ago. Alright, so yeah, so we place the trap, and then the cooldown starts right then. So like in that time you'll be able to just replace it immediately right after it's gone. All right, so skipping back in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Yeah, they gotta shoot another one down. Yeah, bad timing.
So probably try to put a mine on that one so that we just are able to follow up when we hit it, as well as just focus on the fact that we have a trap, because we could have maybe there we adjusted our crosshair a little bit late and to our trap, and then we possibly could have killed the Doomfist there. But look, we kind of like adjust over to the Doomfist like after we shoot 2 shots, right? We went shot, and then we went to look at the Doomfist, right? Where we probably could have killed him had we looked at him sooner there. So
Yeah.
just make sure really when we place a trap that we're focusing the trap or not just ignoring it, because that can open up for a very easy kill, right? Because he's just standing still.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice. Right. So we are 1 minute 18 seconds in. So typically when you're spamming, you don't want to just let it roll into people. You want to get splash damage going, or not. Sorry, it's not splash damage going. We want to get direct damage going. So when we let it roll into people, let's see what happens here. So when we just kind of like let it dribble into them, you'll notice that it doesn't do max damage, right? It's not really doing its full damage potential, right? Unless it's like getting right next to them, like in that last little bit, right? So it's not really doing as much damage as if we're doing this, right? So when we're throwing our shots in, we want to make sure that we're hitting people directly, because that reduces the chance that it's just gonna do explosion damage and just get them like with a tiny little like drizzle like that, right? That's just tickle damage. We're not doing anything with that, right? So we want to make sure that we're arcing it. So the further away we get, you want to start looking up more, which is pretty easy on Junkrat, because what we can do is every single time you shoot a shot, you can adjust your angle up and down to adjust, right? So if we, for example, go way too high with this one, we can go, okay, well, that was way too high, let's aim down, right? And then we're still too high, aim down, right? So we can adjust off of each shot. We just want to make sure that the further and further back we're going, we're going higher and higher with our arc, so that we can still be hitting people directly, right? So we going further back, right? Still adjusting up, right? So that this is hitting them directly. But what ended up happening was we're just aiming down here, which just means that it dribbles into them, right? Maybe doesn't do max damage, and it's going to be a lot more inaccurate and not really get as much good spam damage as you want getting in there, right? On top of that, we were also shooting, and then we kind of threw a mine in there, and then stopped while we stopped shooting. Keep in mind, you can keep shooting while you're throwing a mine, right? So you can do that all at the same time. You don't have to stop shooting to do that. Just another tiny little tidbit. All right.
Cool.
So hop back into that game. So that was oh, it's not 2 Icon Waltz. This was the 11-minute game, so pretty sure this. Yep.
Ready for this will heal.
Okay, so here in a second, you're gonna see we pause to throw the mine, right? Then we do it again, and we pause to throw the mine. Right, keep in mind you can just keep spamming there. And then here you can see that when these shots are hitting, it's just kind of dribbling in there because we're not like we're not aiming high enough, right? So he just goes dribble, 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 right? So we just want to make sure we're aiming up slightly more the further away we're going with it. Other than that, really good spam damage we're getting in there. Now we have our ults. Oh, we going from above, or what are we looking to do with it?
Yeah.
Really, really nice. Something else you can do is potentially just like waddle yourself up here, right? At like crouch a little bit, and then this way you can tire and
time.
then come out immediately, right? With it, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
less time. You don't need to have that time where they can prepare and run away from it. This time, like it really depends. Sometimes you want that delay, but sometimes you don't. I probably say in this scenario, the less of a delay would probably be better, but sometimes a delay is nice because they could just predict where it's coming from. So overall, really good tire. I like that we're using it early. We're not holding on to it, so that's really good. Let's so far pretty decent. Before we go for a tire, it's always a really good habit to just drop a trap right in front of yourself. Like right before you tire. That what happens then is if anybody comes to try to find your body, which is going to be pretty common. They try to come hunt you down, like the Doomfist, for example, or the Doomfist. Really, if he tries to come find you, he ends up getting trapped, and even if he kills you, you end up killing him with your mines, right? Um, with your death mines. So it's just a good
Yeah.
habit to get into. Just place a trap next to yourself, and that could even sometimes prevent you from dying. Other than that, looking pretty nice. Want to be resetting our traps right about now.
Does the sensitivity seem okay? I tried to adjust it a bit.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. Like, did you try to adjust it lower? Because it doesn't necessarily seem like
I
we're.
lowered it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's too high here. So yeah, say it looks pretty good. Doesn't look like we're missing too many mechanical shots. But then again, we're Junkrat.
Yeah. That's where I was thinking Orisa might be good because it's also an opportunity to like show my like bits of aiming that I've done. I also have Hanzo, but I didn't have any good videos for him.
All right.
Because yeah, I think.
Okay, here we back up a little bit when our team's still playing close. Maybe no reason to back up. Who got trapped? Did we?
I threw one on the left, I think.
How did it triggered and then it didn't? Nothing happened with it. Alright, it's right there. Oh, he got pinned out of it. Alright.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here probably say we're just putting ourselves maybe a little too far back and then out in the open here. So what ends up happening here is we're out of position.
Yeah, split up.
Yeah, we got split up from our team. They started pushing in here. We backed up a little too far. Right, we keep backing up, and then when we see that the fight rotates to the right side, right? So for example, here when Reinhardt pins, we probably want to either do one of two things. We want to either get super aggressive when we have the beat available. So what we could do is we have like half of a second until we get a mine. We can mine the floor, boost in here, and just get right in on top of the fray or something like that. Or we should probably go around the right side here to where we'd be using cover, getting next to our tanks and our team. But here instead what we do is we kind of walk out into the open, which I would imagine that with either one of you, we would have talked about, making sure we're respecting cover, and good positioning is the usage of cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover. Here, we just hesitate around here too long, and then we walk out into the open, right? We're not really next to any cover at all, and then that makes getting us killed really, really easy. But, if we went right side, then now we'd have, both supports in a tiny little room with us, where it'd be pretty easy to kill them, right? So just separated from our team, bad positioning here. So far, everything else has looked pretty good, though. Just some techie things that we want to work on. No first major mistake. Oh, just barely. Okay, look to use your mines unless you are like just spamming for a long time and you just want to get your mine value out. A lot of times you're going to want to look to use your mines as a finisher. So you throw it in after you've used your your regular shots. You don't want to just throw it in on its own, because sometimes that can even make it more difficult to shoot at people. You don't want it to just boop people around, because just booping people around for the sake of it can make shots even harder to hit. But it's gonna be very, very easy to use as a finisher, because if you hit that first shot, which mine's very easy to place, right? In comparison to your just normal primary fire, a mine is a lot easier in of ability to hit. So if you hit a primary fire and then follow it up with a mine, that's a very easy kill. So you just want to make sure that we're not just tossing it in there to toss it in there most of the time. Okay, now they did get a bunch of kills there. Something else we could look to do here is, instead of just sitting back main, we could also look to, if our team's holding over here at the chokers, we can look to hold up here on the high ground when we get the chance. This can give us an angle from above, get us a good off angle, and we're going to be pretty, have a bunch of survivability as well.
Kill? Or like just try to hold?
What do you say?
After a trip, I think Hanzo got a
No,
triple
no,
kill
no.
there.
Before that, not
okay.
not on that. All right, no, that's fine. But at this point, this is probably not a good tire, right?
Yeah.
Right, taking a look at the fact that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 people on point with 2 people walking back. We have us, Reinar, who's about to die, right? And then we have everyone just all the way in spawn, right? So this probably is in a scenario where we want to be tiring, and we just want to make sure we're paying attention to our surroundings, so awareness. So this is another big mistake, because we're kind of mistiring here, and then we don't get anything with it. So just want to pay attention to how many people we have alive there.
Objective lost. Keeps on ticking. Stop the payload.
Okay, watch the random spam. Make sure that we're still, we're not just holding down left click, but we're still trying to concentrate a little bit on our aim, especially if we're just like sitting here not really doing much besides shooting, right? A trap that a lot of players fall into on Junkrat is they just think, okay, well, I'm just on a complete spam character, so I just sit here and go shoot, 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 and I don't need to put any brain effort into it, right? But just keep in mind that we still want to make sure that we're aiming our shots here, because we have one shot that goes into the door, one shot that bounces off of this, then the other shot goes to this doorway, which is fine, right? And then so right now we have basically 3 places we could shoot: this doorway, down through here, right? And those are the places we can shoot. But then we end up like kind of not really aiming it too well, and we shoot into this wall. Like, look at where all these bullets go. Wall, okay, down the door. Right now we're shooting into place, right? So just half of those are just not really connecting with much. So you just want to make sure they're going to a good spot. We're not just randomly spamming. Don't feel, again, like you can probably peek the edge here. You don't have to spam from around the corner unless you feel like you have a really, really good spam angle to go for. Here, we just ended up missing everything because we're trying to shoot without seeing anybody. So make sure you can just see people. Again, with those mines, we're just kind of throwing them in, throw them in. So here, for 413, this is probably the best Junkrat tech anyone could ever teach you how to do. Is a mine combo, right? Best Junkrat tech out there is just knowing how to do this, where you shoot, follow it up with a mine, shoot, follow it up with a mine, right? This is very, very easy to kill to go for. It basically one-shots people because it's fast enough damage to where you can pretty much insta-kill them, right? They don't have any time to follow up with it, and like it's going to be a lot more difficult. It's going to be a pretty easy combo to do as well, because like we said, the mine is a very easy follow-up. So this works really well when you're like right on top of someone, right? You can drop on top of like their heads to do this. But what ends up happening is like we just kind of, we'll see the difference here. Like you can see the difference between a mine shoot, right, where you can see that, versus if we're trying to do this, where we toss it in and we're trying to follow up on the guy who's flying around, right? Becomes a lot harder to finish off that kill. So we want to make sure that we're trying to do our first shot and then follow it up with a mine, right? Especially if you know that your first shot's gonna hit. For example, like we know that the first shot's gonna hit if we're like an inch from them, right? We can almost be certain that this shot's gonna hit right here because he's just right next to us, right? Almost certain that that's gonna hit because he's right next to us. So we can predict that we're gonna hit it, follow up with the mine immediately. If he's a little bit further away, we might not want to follow up with the mine immediately. Might be a little bit harder. So just watch the distance and just knowing when you should be using it. But so far I haven't seen us using that tech, and that's like a very fantastic tech you should be using for like almost, not all of them, but almost all of your kills are going to result from that. Probably say like half of your kills are going to come from using that tech. So just make sure you're looking for that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know why I was prioritizing CC over kills, but kills trump that.
All right, so coming back in.
Traveling to icon ready for battle.
Where were we at? No, we were.
Uh,
Yeah, we were back over here.
something too safe.
Alright, a lot more spam just going into nothing. Make sure that our spam is targeted and that we're not just we're not just holding down left click, but that we're making sure we're aiming a crosshair in the direction of red blobs. We're not just firing it on the point, right? Because here we just see a lot more spam damage just hitting nothing because, look, there's absolutely no one over there, right? Instead, we want to target our spam damage towards where we know people are at. So over here, there's 3 people, right? So having our crosshair aimed in this direction is going to be much more beneficial than having our crosshair aimed in this direction. So keep in mind, again, Junkrat's not just shoot, 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 shoot. It's you still need to involve aim in there, right? We still need to be looking in the direction where we know people are at. Okay. Right here, we can plop a trap in there. We can get some distance with it if we like kind of like go to the very edge, jump and like kind of look up with it. That can like launch it forwards a little bit and just plop it down on point. Just make sure we're using the ability. We're not just holding on to it, right? We just want it in there to do something.
This will restore you.
This bomb's for you.
Okay. I like the trap spot. Like, remember to watch the spam because again we're kind of spamming into nothing. All right. What range of a character would you say that Junkrat is?
Medium, or I guess he can also be long, but medium.
I would say the Junkrat so there's a bunch of characters like this where they can play at any range that you put them at. So for example, a character like McCree, you can McCree, or sorry, let's say Hanzo. Hanzo's a better example. Hanzo can play at any range that you put him at. He can play at a long range, he can play at a close range, he can play at a medium range, but he prefers a medium range because at a medium range, because at a medium range, he's not pressured by enemies. If he's too close to people, there's a lot of other characters that just have better close range than he does. Junkrat has better close range than a Hanzo does, right? You have characters like Reinhardt, Reaper, Sigma, right? Characters that flashbang or stuns, right? There's a bunch of characters that just have better close range than he does, even though he's capable of playing at a close range. Now, he also is capable of playing at a long range, but he doesn't prefer to play there because the further a distance you're playing at, the harder it is to hit shots, right? The more inaccurate you're going to be. He doesn't have a scope. He doesn't have any zoom. He doesn't have a way to slow down his sensitivity. And therefore, he doesn't have fall off on his shots and he can hit a snipe, but it's going to be a lot more difficult than hitting a shot at mid-range. So he wants to put himself in mid-range. Junkrat, though he is capable of playing at a long range, I would probably say that he thrives when he's in a mid to close range. Right, because when you're at a close range, that allows you to be a lot more accurate with your shots and do the combos that we were just talking about, is getting value out of your shoot mines, right? So here, a lot of the times it's looking like we're trying to stick ourselves at more of a mid to long range, when I would probably like us to be at more of a short to mid range, right? You don't want to be too like inside of them, right? There are times where you would like to be inside of them because that allows you to get a very easy combo, especially if you have the surprise advantage, but we don't want to stay there. So a better situation or a better position to be in than the one we're at right now would probably be like maybe more like up top here or up top here, right? We're at a lot closer of an angle, right? This becomes a lot easier of a shot to hit, like on this on McCree, where we can just shoot mine into that, than trying to do it from just a spam angle where we're just shooting through here. So just a lot that probably is going to be like one of the big things to just keep in mind is that like very big misconception about Junkrat is that he's just a spam character, right? Junkrat's not just a spam character. If you try to play him like just a spam character, he's not going to get his max value out of the kit.
Mm-hmm.
This will heal you. Oh, this'll be good.
Okay, rather than just booping him away, look to shoot down the shoot down the corridor, and then follow it up with the mine if he walks into it. Right, that way we just get the one shot going. Make sure we request healing. Okay, so here we're just backing up. We're actually down some people. I probably say to just make sure keeping the high ground here, because it probably would be a lot better. We can get a tire up from up here. Just wait for the next fight. We're also looking to back out here when I don't think that we've necessarily lost this fight. Like, look at kind of what we're working with right now. It's a 4v5, right? This fight isn't necessarily lost, yet we're backing out as if it is lost. So again, we talked about a bunch of kill feed watching last time. 1 to 2 people, down 1 to 2 people is a disadvantage. Down 2 to 3 is a loss. And it's the same thing as winning, right? 1 to 2 is an advantage, 2 to 3 is a win, right? So just make sure we're watching kill feed and we're adjusting accordingly, right? Because here we're backing up when this isn't necessarily a lost fight, when we probably could still be winning this, right? And then now that's putting us in a pretty poor position where we're just like really, really far out, really far away from our team, not really in a position to land their ultimate. Like, for example, like here, even if we didn't have health, we could probably just, like, from up here, get a really, really easy tire off. Like, or imagine just, like, tiring and then just coming out and dropping in on top of this, right here, and getting, like, a 4K into these guys, right? They're all really, really easy tire for, like, up on the high ground here, but we just kind of give up that good positioning and back up just because we misread the fight. So that comes into awareness. That's led to a couple of mistakes so far, so we just want to make sure we're keeping that awareness up and online. Alright. Now, I want to see, right before we ulted, what was happening in the fight. So we used beats. We got another kill. Alright, so I think tire was okay there. Make sure we're getting our health back, and then we're requesting it. Also, should be looking to, get into the habit of, every time you need healing, request healing so that you get the supports in game know where you are and they can heal you a bit easier. On top of that, just make sure we're paying attention to our health bar, right? We pay attention to our health bar every time we see that we take damage, which we obviously did back when Hanzo shot us. The other thing was that I didn't mention this before because I forgot, but when Hanzo shot us back up here, which is where we took that 100 damage a while ago, there's a health pack right here, right? So just make sure we're grabbing that real quick. Other than that, we want to be placing a trap right now and getting back up to the high ground. Just make sure you're using your trap. It looks like we haven't used it in a little while. Oh, we also dropped from high ground immediately. Okay, if you see the Pharah, maybe is that why we're dropping from high ground? Probably say we don't want to. All right, so we see the Pharah. Trying to think of what we could do here. So in the scenario, I think dropping from high ground might be a good idea if you see that they are able to just shoot at you and spam at you, right? Retake like one of these positions right here. All right, and then like what we were talking about before, you can look to maybe contest the Pharah by like mining up to her. But besides that, that's what we're doing now is fine. We just want to be using trap. Mine seems to be a wasted ability a lot of the time that we just kind of toss out. We just want to make sure we're looking to. It has two main purposes. Mine, you either want to use it for mobility and to get places faster or get up to a high ground, or we want to use it to finish off a kill. A lot of the times we just kind of toss it in there, which is fine if you have a really long time you're just spamming. So for the equivalent example would be like when they're walking out of spawn here, you had an entire like minute where they never even got it past choke, right? So you don't want to just hold on to mine the entire time they're trying to get past choke here. We can toss mine in to do some extra damage and get a pick maybe. That's a fine, but if the fight's going on, we don't want to just waste mines by tossing it in when people aren't low and to just boop them around. Alright, like that one, wouldn't have even really done anything had we landed it. Right, so you just put a lot more effort and love into your mines because they just don't really accomplish much a lot of the times when it's probably a very most of the time it's gonna be a really big part of your kit.
Yeah.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay. Other thing right here is that you have a Pharah that you're trying to contest. Right, when you're up against the Pharah, taking a look at your comp, you don't have too much that can contest her.
Mm.
You know, what we can do to go up against the Pharah is we kind of have two main ways that we can look to contest her. Right, she's obviously not a great matchup for us. Right, probably more of a counter to us, but we have two main ways that we can contest her. First off is just oh, what the heck? Why did I go that way? Right. First off is just already being on a high ground, right? This way we can be kind of on even playing fields with her, where even if she's, especially now that her fuel is lessened and she got nerfed, basically you're going to be on even playing fields with her, and it's going to be a lot easier to shoot her than if you're, sitting all the way down here, like going, oh no, try to get it, right? Up here.
Yeah.
Other thing is that you can look to do some mine jumps, right? So, for example, something that you can do with your mines is called a triple jump. Are you aware of how to do this?
I think so. I haven't
Yeah.
practiced it very much though. You throw it up in like midair or something.
No. So here you just
Oh.
yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I misunderstood what you said. Basically, if you throw it out mine on the ground, the next one starts recharging. So right now we actually have 3 mines, the one on the ground and 2 more that are on cooldown because we let it recharge, right? So we can actually do what you call a triple mine. So you mine, right? You can go super high and like this can get you on some good flanks. That's not gonna be super useful. A lot of the time you can just do a double jump, like double mine, right? But you can do this to give you some basically you just toss one on the ground when you're trying to go for the Pharah, right? And you can do the same thing and mine up to her level, right? You don't need to necessarily even wait for the second one, but this can help, is you mine up to her level so you can shoot, mine, right? And that can give you another one as well, right? If you get on top of her, right? Give you some more airtime, but it's just a way to get up to her level, right? It's just mine, or you could even double mine if you need to, but you just want to get up to her level essentially when you're trying to duel her. Right. So we're
Traveling to icon ready for battle.
The hunter lays the trap for his prey.
60 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the same stuff repeating, just kind of maybe not in the best position. A lot of just spam shots that aren't going to anything, and then just a lot of mines that are wasted.
30 seconds remaining.
Right here, maybe playing a little bit too aggressive with our positioning when we are down some people who are still walking back. These guys were still walking back, and then we have more walking back, and Pharah is kind of melting us, so we just want to be careful and being aware of the Pharah. So we do mine up to her there. It just looked like it wasn't really planned ahead of time. It was just kind of like, we're doing it.
Just lucky, I guess.
10 seconds
Okay, very nice.
This will restore you.
Well, this fight's going on for a while here. Alright.
Yeah.
So, main points that we're looking at, strengths and weaknesses, is looking like we're just messing up. So, ability-wise, Mines is the big one that we just want to put a lot more focus in. Use the combos a little bit better. Look to, one-shot combo. Trap, just use it as often as you get it. You don't want to just have it on cooldown. You just want to be throwing it out there so it gets value, especially in between fights. Ultimates, looking pretty fine, I think. Just want to make sure that we're not ulting in when in a lost fight, right? That's something we want to do. We don't want to do. Sorry. And then besides that, I think we only saw two or three, two or three. I can't remember. Okay, yeah, sorry, we saw three. Okay. We saw three. One was a 3-man, and then the other two were 1-mans. To be honest, not much problem with them. Really, really good. Just throw a trap out in front of you before you go for it. Then moving on, we have mechanics. I think this is where we get into a little bit of a thing is like with your mechanics, you just want to make sure we're arcing our shots, right? And then on top of that, we just end up doing a lot of spam shots that don't really go anywhere and aren't really intentionally aimed. So make sure we're just intentionally aiming our shots in directions where we know people are at. Positioning and awareness are two big ones that just kind of we once in a while we just mess up and screw up, and then we end up dying as a result, or we make a big mistake. So awareness has resulted in us wasting our ultimate and backing out of a fight too early, and positioning has gotten us killed at the very beginning of a fight and put us in positions where we can't really do as much. So positioning just makes sure you're sitting at a close to medium range if it's possible. Try to take high grounds if it's possible, right? And that's what we're looking at so far.
Cheers, mate. The cavalry.
Cool.
So, for example, this is a spot specifically that you can look to go if you feel like you just can't get past choke. Or you could even, honestly, you could probably even do this just to open up like an engagement. If you wanted to, is you can place a mine right here. Right, just poke, poke, poke. Wait for your cooldown to come up, and then you can like triple mine over the rooftops here, or possibly even you might be able to even double mine it. I don't know. And you can go over this rooftops. This can like drop you like straight on top of this Orisa, right? And just like you can just 2-tap like any of the supports, and that gives you guys an opening pick, and maybe you could possibly even get a couple others too while you're there. It just gives you a real fast surprise advantage that they're not expecting, and it just like immediately gets you into their backline. And this is also another tech that you can do. That you can do if you have a tire is you can do the exact same thing, pretty much over anything, any over any rooftops. As you can like, if you had a tire, you could like triple mine and like drop like right behind them, and they're not expecting this at all, and you just tire and kill everyone, right? You could do the same thing, like for example, if we I've done this where I go over like this rooftop. I can't remember if you can go over. I'm pretty sure you can go over this thing. You can. You might be able to do that where you come from here, and if they're still at this little choke area with it, and you have a tire, you can mine over this way. You can also probably mine over this way, right? Just like land behind them and just tire real easily, right? Gets a real good off-angle flank right away. So that's just some ideas and tech that you can look to do to get really good flanks in easily.
So it's okay if Junkrat dies a bit more, if like for the.
If you die while getting a 3K or 2K,
Yeah.
you've gotten value, right? You don't want to die. You don't like if you went in there and you got one single pick, then it'd be like more like meh, right? Going one, or if you got nothing, that'd be bad. Going 1-for-1 isn't really something you want to do too often on a DPS, but in this scenario, if you get 2 picks and die, that's perfectly fine, because that means that you have the same exact like spawns from here, and this opens up your team to be able to push in aggressively. But preferably, you'd be getting off of that. You'd hopefully be getting like 2 to 3 kills, right? And possibly even like could happen. We could even survive it, right? But same thing with a tire is you're hoping to like it's putting you in a position where you're hoping to get more than 2 kills, which will make it worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. All patched up.
All right. We were forwards here, and then we kind of backed up and put ourselves in a sniper position again. Make sure we're up a little bit closer. We're also we kind of did the same things again, where we're not really intentionally aiming our shots, and then our mines are just coming out as spam shots, and we're also firing out our mines and then having a super long delay in between our shots. Just keep the spam going up, right? Just keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. Just make sure that those shots are going in the right direction, though. So just a lot of the same stuff that we talked about already. Make sure you're not walking ahead of your tanks. Like here we walked and then didn't notice that they all backed up, so be aware of your surroundings here. This is awareness death and positioning death, so the awareness fed into our positioning, right? When you don't have good awareness, you don't know what's going on, and you can't make good decisions. Here, Reinhardt backs up, and we walk past him,
Yeah.
right? And then he ends up going to the right while we're going to the left, and then we die, right? So bad positioning based off of our lack of awareness. Make sure we're not stepping in front of our tanks, and then we end up dying as a result.
Cease your resistance. Rise and shine. Stop me if you've heard this one before.
Find their weakness. Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Okay, same thing, just like open it up with a shot before you're mining. That way you get some burst damage in. Right, the faster you kill something, the less time they have to get away, the less time they have to get healed, less time they have to do anything to get away from your damage. So killing something fast is always going to be better, right? So we want to just get in those combos so we can kill someone pretty much instantaneously.
That's a good spot.
Alright, not much going on here. We're just cleaning them up.
Yeah, I think that was. I guess the victory. Couldn't remember.
Payload is approaching its destination.
Just be aware of the Sigma who's next to us. Right, besides that, looking pretty fine. I think this is just over now. Alright. So moving on to Akira. Let's see what he is doing.
Ready for battle.
Can we maybe look at another Lucio game?
Oh, yep, sure.
I posted it in chat.
Alright. So you want to go over the defense round here particularly?
Now
Yeah, that would be cool.
entering the temple of Enready
All right.
for battle.
So not this one, moving on. So this is resetting sides. Alright. So we're just taking a
So
look.
one thing that I think is maybe I'm speed boosting too much, or I'm not close to. No, sorry, I'm not speed boosting enough because I usually get gold healing, and I wonder because am I healing well and that's good, or am I healing too much, i.e. underusing the speed boost?
Alright, well we'll definitely take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, amp wasted here, so your amp is going to be used when in one of two or pretty much in one situation, right? When you really need something, right? Your amp basically is saying, I want a lot of heals or I want a lot of speed. So a situation where you would want a lot of heals is when you have either someone who is critical and you need to burst heal them, so you need to like heal them up a whole lot of health, or someone who is in danger and is about to die, which that's not always going to be the same thing, and they're not. Someone could be in danger and not be critical, right? And you want to keep them alive by burst healing again, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this situation, is anybody really in danger, or is anybody critical?
I got frightened by the Zarya bomb, I think, this one.
So in this
Then I
situation,
went to 30.
just swap the heals. Don't need to amp at all, right? Just request healing, just a wasted amp. The other thing is that we should not be on speed here. Speed, when it comes to the difference between speed and heals is what you default to. Heals is what you are on when you do not need speed. Speed is what you use when your team is moving somewhere or when you are moving somewhere. When we are trying to like dance around and go do stuff, right, and to go participate and fight around, whenever we're wall riding, we're speeding. But if our team wants to run in aggressively on something or get somewhere fast, or we're coming back from spawn, or there's a bunch of different situations where speed is necessary, but anytime speed is not necessary and we're just sitting around, which right now we're just sitting around, right? We're not going in anywhere.
Yeah.
This is where we're on healing, because this will get us ult charge, this will get natural just passive healing going, and it'll be better for us and our whole team. We don't need to be on speed here. Also, when we're spamming here, we should just be holding down our left click. We don't need to tap it. So just hold it down so that you're just doing shoot, 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 right? You're kind of just throwing out spam damage so that you can try to get your ultimate up faster. You still want to be intentional with it, like we were talking about with Salty and her shots, but you want to make sure you're just holding it so you're shooting faster and getting more damage out there.
Yep.
Yeah, let's move it, people. Feel the healing beat.
Alright, so we see the Tracer, that's good awareness. Good job going in and getting her. Okay, we swap back to the healing, so that's good. Good audio awareness. I saw that we heard the Tracer.
Pick it up. This is gonna make you feel better.
And not much happening right now. Another wasted amp, right? Nothing's critical at all, right? We can look at the top right health bars. Absolutely nobody was low at all, right? So just make sure that when we're looking for amps that we're really, really paying attention to health bars if we're looking for amp heals so that we're not on like misusing it, because then it's a long cooldown. It's a, what is it, 12-second cooldown, right? So we want to be able to have it. And we don't want to waste it, right? So just another wasted one. But so far, nothing really's happened yet. They've just kind of been poking, and our team's been winning. So see what happens next. Okay. Nice. Good. So far, good awareness. We're paying attention to the Tracer. We're going to try to duel her and contest her and keep her away from Arana. So that's really good. Just keep spamming in damage there, and if you're not very nice kill, and if you're not spamming in damage, make sure you're reloading. We don't want to just sit there and AFK. We want to always maximize our time. So anytime you have a lull where you're not actively shooting or doing damage or doing anything, you want to make sure that you're using that time to reload.
Yep.
Okay, because then we end up dancing around there for a couple seconds, and then we go to shoot at something, we have 4 ammo. On healing again unnecessarily, right? Remember, we're using it when our team needs to go somewhere, otherwise we just want to have it on heals. This is going to get us up a ton of more ult charge, and we're charging our ults a lot faster here. But now they're about to push through. Right now, this is a situation where speed might be a little bit more necessary when we're about to fight. All right, so Junkrat died there. I like that we tried to save him, so that amp is actually good. Oh, but we end up being in that room for too long. That's not where we wanted to be. All right, so some problems here. First off, we come in here, we throw the amp out, he dies. We want to back out immediately. We end up staying in there way too long, which is a problem, right? So we just want to back out there. We kind of stay. We were about to back out, and then we stayed in to the
I think I
room.
tried, but I didn't manage to slide out backwards.
Yep. In this situation, then just don't feel like you have to be shooting and sliding out,
Yeah.
like, because we look this direction. We're like almost out of. Actually, sorry. This is. Let me rewind that. Right. You're gonna notice we come back towards the doorway, and then we're almost out, right? We could just walk right into where Ryan are here. Yeah, we kind of back off on the wall. So in this situation, just go forwards if you need to. You don't have to be staring at them, right? Yeah. So that's number one mistake, is we just stay in here too long. This takes bubble. That means Zarya has to bubble us, and it baits us away from our Reinhardt, and it means that we're forced to stay on healing when we probably should be on speed right now, right? Why should we be on speed?
To walk out backwards?
Yep, to walk out backwards. Why are we trying to walk out backwards as a team?
Because we're retreating at the moment.
So why is our team retreating?
One of our DPS is dead, and I'm about to die. Oh, yeah.
Because this guy's trancing, right? And are we
Sure,
gonna
yeah, right.
are we gonna be able to kill anything or do anything while they're trancing?
Not in this state now.
No. So exactly. So in this situation, we want to just back out, look to give them some space, wait till trance is done, and then we can look to re-engage. We don't want to be fighting right now, so that's why we should be on speed. But us being 48, 6 HP right now is a little bit of a bummer on that. So I probably wouldn't say that being on speed or healing here is either or is a wrong decision. Also, just make sure that when you're low HP that you're paying attention to the fact that we're low, right? We just saw that we took a bunch of damage. You'll have a bunch of indicators that when we take damage, right? So when we take damage, you see, first off, you see people shooting at you. You hear your character go, "Oh!" right next to your crosshair, you see the little red indicator that shows you the direction you took damage from. You'll see on the corners of your screen, so on the right side, you see the red marks where it shows we're being damaged from the right side, right? So we have all indicators, and on top of that, we see our health bar go down, right? So all different indicators that our character is low, right? And now we're very low, so you see all around our screen is all red, right?
Yeah.
So a bunch of different indicators that we're low. When we see that we're low, we want to make sure that we're getting into the habit of pressing I need healing, right? This shows the other support, hey, I'm Lucio, I'm over here, I need healing, right? It gives them an in-game audio cue. The same way that you can hear the tracer blinking around on your back line, right? When you hear over here, it lets her know Lucio needs healing, he's on my left, right? Otherwise, if you didn't say anything at all, she might not have the urge at all to look to the left, right? She wouldn't even care about looking at the left. But we're giving an audio cue that says, hey, look at me, I'm in danger, right? So we just want to make sure we're getting in the habit of pressing that.
Okay.
Also, don't walk ahead in front of your Reinhardt when you're 1 HP, right? More bad positioning, right?
I have your back.
Okay, now we're full HP again. I think we got healed up or something like that. So now we can be a little bit more aggressive. We can, and their trance is about to end. It's not like on the last second of it, so we can look to speed it whenever we want here. Okay.
Tactical visor activated.
Keep in mind, sometimes a good how do I say this? Not a good offense. Sometimes getting out faster is a good defense, right? Because when you like get out of a situation faster, it means you stop taking damage, right? If we get out away, we don't take damage the same way that we were talking about in here. We don't take damage, which means that we won't require healing. So if we can look to back out faster, we don't need amp healing. So in this situation, we end up amp healing. We should probably be amp speeding because we're not necessarily low, and we just want to be getting away as fast as we can, right? We don't want to be amp healing. The other thing is that we end up dropping straight to point. Now, I don't think we ever went over Lucio, but in general, I've also noticed this, is that we just want to stay next to cover and walls. First off, you want to stay next to cover for the reason that cover is good, right? We talked about that last time. We talked about this with Salty, is you want to make sure you're using cover. Good positioning is usage of cover, and right here we're out in the open. But the other thing that especially Lucio benefits from being next to cover and walls is that he can wall ride, and he moves faster when he wall rides, and he gets more mobility. He gets more survivability as a result of more mobility, and he's able to do more things. So we never want to be kind of out in the open. We always want to be hugging walls so that we can get from place to place. Here we just kind of walk out in the open, and then that means that we don't have any speed at all.
Visor activated.
Gonna make you feel better.
So I definitely wouldn't say that we're necessarily on heals too much. It's more like we're not understanding when healing and when speed is necessary.
Push on.
Okay, you're full HP. You swap to the speed boost when you're full HP. Right, shouldn't be on healing right now. We should be on speed. Okay, very good aggression on the Reinhardt and good awareness of the fact that he's low. So far, it looks like our awareness is a little bit fragmented to where it looks like we're doing pretty good in some areas and we're doing pretty meh in some other areas. Make sure that we're paying attention. Like so far, we have good audio awareness, and we're paying attention to footsteps and sounds behind us. So we heard the tracer like 3 times when she was behind us, so that's really good. There we were paying attention to his health bar, so that's really good. You just also want to pay attention to kind of what's the heck is happening in the fight, because sometimes we're not paying attention to health bars, and sometimes we're not paying attention to what's happening, and that's really what's going to feed into your ability to swap between speed and healing. If we see that people are low, we swap to healing. If we see that our team's not doing anything, we swap to healing. But if we're trying to move, or our team's trying to move anywhere, whether or not we're just trying to move a couple inches, or like we're just trying to run into them or back out or anything like that, we're swapping the speed so we can do that faster. But it doesn't seem like we're being aware of health bars in a lot of different instances, and it doesn't seem like we're being aware of what our team wants to do in a lot of different instances, and that's leading to a lot of mistakes when it comes to that. So awareness is a little bit on and off in different areas. So far, I don't think we've had much problem with watching. Oh, okay, never mind. Take that back. When it comes to watching HUD, we just want to make sure we're watching our health bar, right? Besides that, I haven't seen us use beat yet. And then kill feed watching, I haven't seen us make any mistakes with that yet, so good so far. Alright, so we ended up bringing that fight back. Really good. Oh, that's not regular speed. This is now like the 4th wasted amp that we've used, right? We end up amping. We look at the top right on the health bars of our team, right? Yet again, our entire team is full HP, right? So we remember to use it. We're only using amp heals when it's needed. Otherwise, we can amp speed when we want to. Like here, for example, this would be a really good situation to amp speed. Why would this be a good situation to amp speed?
Like to move up on them.
Yep. Because they still have 3 people in spawn. Therefore, we could go and stagger these guys and kill them very, very easily. Even if it even if it was just us and our entire team decided to sit on point, we could probably kill these guys because Zenyatta's 1 HP, right? Or at least a quarter HP, right? Zarya's less than half HP and purpled. These guys would be super, super easy to take down and kill. And even if we just went in on our own, we'd probably be able to take them down pretty easily. But this would also let our entire team get in there, but we end up amping heals and kind of sitting in place, so we just need to identify when we're trying to go places. So again, awareness, paying attention to health bars. Okay, good, nice beat, I like it. They don't have really anything else that we need to hold on to it for, and that was a really good situation to use it in. Make sure you're not sitting on heals when you have a beat going, because unless you have people who are critical. So for example, like in this situation right here, when you first beat, this is fine to stay in heals because you have critical people. They're all laying on the floor and they don't need to speed anywhere. But as soon as they wake up, you probably want to be on speed so that these guys can run around and do stuff, because your Ana can heal them up just fine, and they don't need heals at the moment because they have a speed boost, or because they have a beat, right, with 900 HP, right? So they don't need to be on healing right now, and like
There's
you see,
also the pad, the biotech field.
Yep. So again, just another situation where speed is necessary. So ability usage here is seeming like the big one. So far though, mechanics haven't seemed too terrible. I'd like to see a lot more wall riding though. That's just pretty much, you just want to do that all the time. Did we talk about wall riding at all? Because we didn't talk about Lucio, right?
No, not so much.
No. So we're at 705. So are you aware of, when it comes to wall riding, I just want to make sure that you don't know this before we talk about it, because I don't want to go over something you know. But when it comes to wall riding, do you press your A and your D keys? Your left and your right?
No, not sure.
Not really? So you just press W and that's it?
I think.
You think? All right, well that's fine then. Then we don't really have too much to talk about there. It's just, you just want to make sure that when you're wall riding, you essentially spam jump. You only press W. You don't press your side keys at all, and you just use your camera to move around, right? And then that allows you to be a little bit more direct with it. It doesn't stick you to walls. But in general, you just want to position next to walls more often and make sure that we're wall riding anytime we're just trying to move somewhere. Because so far we're not really doing that too much. The other thing that you want to keep in mind as a Lucio player is that you have a ton of mobility. So 705, right? On Lucio, you are we didn't even really go over this at all, but we'll go over it now. You are what you call an opportunist. So right now, what we're kind of doing is we're kind of having a supportist playstyle where we kind of like just chill on our team, right? And we sit with these guys the entire time, and we just kind of doing this, right? And sitting with our team. But you'll find that Lucio does a really good job dueling characters, especially because he has very high mobility. So instead of sitting on point like right over here, we want to make sure that we're over on walls, because even if we're just sitting on the floor here, in half a second we can be using that wall to just speed boost ourselves forwards, right? So we can ride on walls and go all around the place super, super fast, right? But why that matters is because that means that you can get in on people really, really fast, just like a Tracer can, right? So you and Tracer
Yeah.
have very similar play styles like this because you can act as an opportunist, and whenever you see someone who's low, see someone who's out of position, see someone who's just a very easy target to kill, right, for whatever reason, maybe they're getting ulted, we can look to just real quick speed over to them, right, and finish them off real easily, right? Because we can shoot, boop, melee, right, and they're on top of us. Just make sure you're booping and meleeing because that's very easy, consistent damage, right? But we haven't really done much of this. We did that on the Tracer, which I really liked, but we didn't, besides just contesting the Tracer and booping her away, we didn't really do much of that. But just keep in mind to watch out for people who are low, watch out for people who are out of position, you know, go on the supports and the DPS. You don't want to do this on tanks too much because you're not going to be able to kill them, but you know, if you have an Ana on the back line who's just off on her own, right, we can very easily speed in and just like drop on her head, right? Just boop and melee her around, right? You can boop and melee do a lot of easy, consistent damage, right? Like we can boop melee, right? We can do this another time, right? We just keep booping, and we can melt this guy pretty fast with pretty consistent, easy. Oh, we got the health back, right? Melt him with pretty easy, consistent damage that you just follow up with your shots, right?
Why melee and not just shooting?
Because your melee is very consistent and easy to hit, especially when you're at a close range on somebody. And on top of that, like your melee is very easy to fit into a combo. So you can very easily come in here and shoot, boop, and then melee like right all together, right? And it kind of animation cancels into each other. So whenever you're far away from someone, you want to shoot, but whenever you're right next to someone, you want to boop and melee because it's very easy, consistent damage. Whereas with your shots, you have to aim it. Right, you have to aim it a little bit more, right? So it's just gonna be really easy damage to go for. You don't want to just melee someone to death, but when you're on top of them, you just want to add it in there after you go for the boop and shooting, right? All right, so that is pretty much it there. So we can hop back into range here, or the map.
Traveling to icon ready for battle.
Oh, this is not the right one. What map are we on? We're on Junkrat Town. Or Town of Anubis. Was this one right here?
Yeah, Anubis.
Now entering the ready for
7 something.
705.
Alright, here we go. So you can see me just kind of sit around here a lot. We're not really on walls here. Okay, so we're not moving anywhere, so that's good. So you can see that we just we're walking around through like on the floor a lot. When on Lucio you want to be on the walls as often as possible. Like on Lucio you're going to be on the walls maybe like 50 to 70% of the time. It's going to be very frequent that you're on walls, and you just want to make sure that you're looking to use them a lot more often. Because here we're just kind of on the walls more like 10-20% of the time. Wall riding is very much a kind of secondary thing on your mind for you. Like I said, it's coming out 10-20% of the time, whereas it should be happening most of the time, like 50-70% of the time that you're wall riding around.
But isn't it a bit tricky here, because if I'm on the wall, then not everybody is in my healing aura?
Oh, not really. No, so we're at 744. Your healing aura can go a pretty far distance, and on top of that, you can actually see it here. And then on top of that, it can go up pretty high. So are you talking about you being too high for them, or you being too far away from them?
Just on the point in Anubis, if I'm on the wall, then not sure whether I'm covering the whole point.
All right, so in both dimensions, okay, so we can look at first off this. So if you look at the number right underneath your crosshair, that'll actually tell you how many people are in your aura. So if we are over here where nobody's at, there's 0, right? We move over here to where this guy's at, now there's 1. Now we move over here, now it's 2, because we have line of sight on this guy, and we're actually really high, and yet we can still heal him, right? But if you go too high, look, you can see this where we're jumping, and we end up getting 0 for a second there, because we end up getting too high for him, right? And you can also see your aura here in the training range. It's like that far, so we can be on the wall and still be healing those guys, right? We can be over here and still be getting those guys over there, and you can see that get through the the number, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So you can still heal people from pretty far away, and you don't really have to worry about that too much, right? Especially if you're looking to you're just going away for a moment, right? Because you're most of the time you're not going to be going away for too long, but you use the wall anytime you're trying to get to places. So like you're trying to go over and duel the tracer, right? You're using the walls anytime you're trying to go and capitalize and get on someone offensively, right? You use
But I
the
mean,
walls.
we were waiting for them to attack on Anubis. I'm not sure what should I have done on the wall.
So when you're waiting for them to attack and you're sitting there, there's no reason to be on the wall. You know, no reason for that, right? But we didn't really do it at all. Even when we were like going after the tracer, for example, like when the tracer was in our back line, we didn't really wall ride over to try to get to her faster, which could maybe result in a kill on her, right?
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't do it like in the middle of fights like that much, right? We still did it, you know. I'm not saying we never wall rode ever, but we didn't do it too often in the middle of fights, right? When we could have been going over and doing things other places rather than just sitting on top of our Reinhardt, right? So we just want to look to do that a little bit more, right? Now getting back here. Now we were on oh, that's not the right temple game.
Now entering
So we're
the
this
temple
temple.
of Anubis.
Yep.
Now entering.
Make sure whenever you get stuck that you stand still. That gives people adequate amount of time to run away from you. Here we walk into the Junkrat, so just make sure as soon as you see that you're stuck that you just immediately stand still so that nobody gets pulsed. Or if you're absolutely confident that nobody is behind you, you can back up so that you get away from people, right?
Yeah.
Or if you know that everyone's behind you, you can walk forwards, right? You just walk in the opposite direction of people, but only if you're absolutely certain that nobody's there. Here we ended up just walking into the Junkrat, so you just want to make sure we're not moving at all.
My ultimate is charging.
10
Right.
seconds remaining.
So looks like they're about to stall, but then we're just gonna win this fight. Really good wall riding to get back there. I like it. It just doesn't happen very much. Right, so like sitting in the middle of point here means that we end up getting caught by grav, right? Because like kind of look at the radius of that grav. If we're on the right side wall or hugging that at all, we're not in grav. So just a bad positioning leads to bad like getting caught in that, right? So we're just out in the open a little bit too much. All right, so that's pretty much it. So as a strengths and weaknesses, ability usage is definitely like the biggest thing that we're looking at here. I'm just gonna go back so I can see like your HUD here. Right, ability usage is the biggest thing that we're looking to work on. As we messed up a ton of different amps, we ended up not really knowing when to speed, when to heal. Ultimates, I only saw one single ult, but that ult was fine, so didn't look like it was too much of a big deal. I think when it comes to awareness, we were kind of all over the place. So kill feed watching, I think we did a good job. We did a good job watching. We had good audio awareness and we had a good job just paying attention to general game things, but then we would not pay attention to health bars nearly as often as we should have, because that led to a lot of unnecessary amp heals and a lot of unnecessary healing in general. And then on top of that, we didn't really pay attention to what our team was wanting to do at all times and what we wanted to do, because we ended up being on the wrong, and that would lead to us being on the wrong healing or speed, right? Either or.
Yeah.
Positioning, be on the walls more often, make sure we're looking to wall ride around as often as possible. And then like we just oftentimes end up standing too far on the open. So remember, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover, and us being on walls can allow us to get to cover faster than if we're sitting on point. And last one is just mechanics. Not really I didn't really see too much of a problem with our mechanics, so no issue there. Right.
Yeah.
So, going back to Salty
Can
here?
I maybe ask another Lucio related question?
Yep, good.
We didn't attack here, but like sometimes people say to beat to engage. Like it's very difficult to say it in general, but what do you think?
So
maybe,
it's gonna
speaking?
be very, very situational. It really depends on what ultimates does the enemy team have. What basically how much time is left on the time bank. So for example, if this is the last fight and you need to just like emergency run and get on point, then beating on to get yourself fast through the choke can speed up the process of getting to point. So I was just coaching someone earlier today who's like a diamond Lucio player who was doing that, who like they had like 10 seconds left and he just like basically he went and touched point, so he beat it and then went in and touched. Right, so it allowed his team to get through the choke point real fast. So that could be a situation they can use it in. But also you could use it if, for example, if your team, you want your team to go in and the enemy team doesn't have any ultimates that you need to counter, right? So let's say they don't have grab, they don't have shatter, they don't have any big ults that you want to just save beat for. That's another situation where you could look to use it on an engage. Other than that, you probably would want to use it to counter ultimates or help your team when they're all low HP. But it is going to be situational where yes, you can use it to engage.
Like in 1,000 Lucio ults, like how many of them are offensive and how many defense?
Most of them are going to be defensive. Out of 1,000, let me lower that to 100. I'll probably say like, or maybe even like, let's see. I'm trying to think of this. Maybe like even lowering that down to like 10. It would be like 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 or something like that would be offensive.
Okay.
Sorry, that like that might be a little bit easier than doing 1,000 for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that
All
gives me some idea.
So then, where do we? We only did I think we did more with. Actually, I guess we're about even. I don't know how long we spent
We're
with each of
about
them.
even.
Yeah, I think so.
So going back to Salty, do you have a map that you want to go over? Was the Oasis one?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one. I think that was a loss, so that's a PRGYAX.
All right.
Welcome to Oasis. Ready for battle.
All right. So we are. No, that's Akira. What am I on? We're on Salty. All right.
My will made real. Please move behind barrier.
Right. So first off, whenever we're pulling, make sure that we're pulling up in the air, so more towards. I guess you can't see my crosshair, but right above the tank's heads here. So what that does is it means that essentially it's prolonging the amount of time that they're stunned. If we're pulling them up in the air means that they have to drop to the floor, which means that they can't control their movement until they hit the floor. So this actually means that they can't move around for a longer period of time. And if you look to do that with all of your ultimates, that's just an extra half to 1 second of stun every time that you're using your pull. Right? Or not stun, crowd control, right? So just pull them up in the air. That's just a good habit to get into. Okay. Your fortify usage. Fortify. Are you aware of like what does fortify do for you? Kind of what are the two things it does?
I think it reduces damage intake by some percentage and it increases your movement speed by 10.
It does not increase movement speed.
It does not.
It has one other thing that it does. Maybe I would guess it.
Also, you cannot move if you're like hooked or something.
So yeah, so it does two things. First off, it reduces your damage by, and I just want to tap my mic here and like, yo, okay, listen up for this. Half, right? So you'll be taking half damage when you use this ability. On top of that, this stops you from taking all forms of stuns, crowd control, anything, right? Anything that tries to do anything to you, it will not affect you. So May Freeze will not work. You will not get booped. You will not get stunned. You can't get flashbanged. You can't get shattered. You can't get grabbed. Nothing, absolutely nada will work on you while you're in this besides damage. In this situation, probably not a situation that we need to use it in because like we're not really in too much danger, and I don't think that we have too much damage coming into us, right? Because we kind of, when we use it, we kind of have a roadhog in front of us and we kind of rotate behind cover real quick. Here we also need to choose between left and right side here because we have two different covers, right? We have this cover right here where we can duck behind this and now they can't see us, and we also have this, right, where we can duck behind this and they can't see us. But here we go towards the right side. while we're positioning, and then whenever we want cover here, we rotate all the way to the left, which is probably we just want to make sure we're picking one of them and sticking with it. So that just means extra time out in the open. But we use that when we have like 3 people in front of us. So this isn't really going to get too much value for us. It just means that we end up wasting a lot of it. Whereas, for example, when a Reinhardt charges in and starts swinging on us, this might be a situation where we might want it a little bit more.
The objective is now.
Okay, nice.
Touch from afar.
Now, if this was like an actual like higher level match, you probably want to be repositioning up here to the high ground. Though if you have none of your teammates who want to do that, that would be completely fine, and just make sure you're sticking with your team. But the best positioning here would be high ground for multitude of reasons. First off, because we're on a spam composition, meaning that we play at a far distance. We like to play slow. Which, just so that you're aware, Akira, Reaper does not work too well with. Actually, we're kind of right now we're kind of on a split because we're half spam, half brawl. Is the issue. So you two might want to get on the same page here. Did we talk about compositions last time at all?
Not so much, I think.
Not so much. Why don't we go over that real quick then? Because that could be helpful for both of you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna copy paste this over to Discord if you want to take a look at Discord.
Okay.
So this is a sheet of the 3 different comps in the game. Have you heard of spam, brawl, and dive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spam don't use so often, but yes.
Yeah. So
Or
basically this chart goes over the difference between the different compositions and how you like to play them differently. So dive is you start off far away, you get in close to them. Dive is where you're running a like monkey, diva, a Genji tracer, right? Stuff like that. Right, you start off very slowly, and then as you get kills and as you get picks, you get faster and faster. Right, and ultimate, sorry, as you get kills and ultimates, you get faster and faster. Now, brawl and spam is where it gets very, very one-dimensional, and it gets very easy to tell what your job is and how your composition should be playing. So brawl is anytime that you're on characters that like to play at a close range. So that's going to be like Ryan, Zarya, Lucio, Moira, Ana, Reaper, Mei, right? Close range characters. Basically, why close range characters want to play fast is because long range characters, basically for the reason it's basically these two are opposites, right? Long range characters like to play slow because it gives them more time to shoot, right, at a long range. Brawl characters like to play fast because they cannot shoot at a long range, and therefore they don't want to give time for them to shoot at a long range, right? So they like to play close and they like to play fast. So this is where you just want to run into them, go, 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 go. Now, spam is the exact opposite, and they want to play far away. They're long-range characters, and therefore they also like to take the pacing of the fight at slow, because they are going to get more time to spam and do damage and just do some output. Now, the spam comps is where you're running like Orisa, Roadhog, Sigma. You can have any snipers, any hit scan, like Junkrat be a mix between a spam and a brawl. You also can, like, you have Baptiste, Zenyatta, Mercy who work as spam. All right. Now, the hybrid is anytime it's a mix of anything where you like have 2 brawl, 2 spam, 2 dive, where you're not really running anything in particular. Anytime you have like 4 of one, that's where you have one particular composition. So like 4 brawl and 2 spam is a brawl comp. 4 spam and 2 dive is a spam comp, right? If in this situation we have 3 brawl, 3 spam, which means that we're a hybrid and we're kind of in the middle and we don't really have a clear objective, because you have half of your team trying to play slow and far and half of your team trying to play close and fast. So it doesn't really work too well together. So taking a look at this, Reaper, Lucio, and Moira are close range characters and they're brawl characters. Hog, Orisa, and Soldier are long-range characters, and they like to play at a medium to long distance, and they are spam characters. So we have our team is kind of like flippity-floppy here, where we're not really all on the same page with the distance we want to be playing, which means that I would probably lean more towards like or one of you basically should be swapped on a different character for this to work correctly, or be like kind of be a little bit more be a little bit more helpful for the composition. Now the other thing is that we also want to take a look at the enemy team composition, because this isn't just about looking at our team comp, but then also going, okay, out of our 2 team comps, what are they also playing to, right? On their team comp, they have Ana, Lucio, Reinhardt, Diva, who are all brawl characters, and then they have Hanzo and Soldier, who are spam characters, right? So they are mostly a brawl, and therefore, since they are mostly a brawl, we probably want to be playing at a further distance than them, since they kind of out-brawl us, right? They also have brawl tanks, which a lot of the times, like, even though we have a Reaper, Moira, Lucio, I would probably say that their brawl's even stronger than ours is, especially just because of the Reinhardt, because Reinhardt's a pretty nuts brawl character. So in this comp, we probably just want to be setting up on high ground, but if our team doesn't want to go there, then that's fine to sit on low ground. That's all, like, just all stuff.
So I suppose I should be switching off here.
Yeah, you could switch off here, but you could also be just playing in a more safe play style. It's just be difficult for you to get value a whole lot when you're running with this comp, but if they're playing like a brawl, then this works okay.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out, should I switch to something that fits better into the comp that I'm worse at playing this character versus just staying on what I am able to play.
Honestly, you can stay on what you're like. You can stay on what you're able to play. At any rank. This is mostly when you get to like competitive play, where it really, or like team play, where it like really affects stuff. But really, the big thing I'm saying here is it's gonna make it harder on yourself, but it's not going to necessarily be a forced you have to swap here. It's just gonna be more difficult because you're running it in a not so great composition, but you are still able to do it if you play the character correctly. Okay,
and does fast in these terms mean like high engage and low risk aversion, or like not like willing to take higher risk essentially?
Fast means that the pacing at which you're trying to run into the enemy team is faster. The pacing of how you want to approach the fight is at a faster pace. So a brawl wants to basically headbutt you and go bam 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 right run into you, whereas a spam wants to tippy toe away and go and back off as and get as far away as they can while the brawl's trying to do that. And if the spam can play tippy toe and run away from the brawl comp, and before the brawl comp can get to them, then the spam wins. If the brawl comp can get to you, they win, right? Or at least that's how the compositions work. It's more like they have an advantage if they get there, right? Here, no, never mind. Our team was ahead of us, so they back up, so that's good. That's fine.
Surrender to my will.
Want to make sure that we're not overlapping our shield with our shift, because when we use our shield and our shift at the same time, now we're just not really getting our max value, because nobody can shoot at us, so the damage reduction doesn't do anything, and no one can stun us, so the stun reduction doesn't do anything. So you're gonna want to use this more. You're gonna want to use them more like on and off, where you use one, then you use the other, then you use one, then you use the other. You don't want to use them at the exact same time, because then you just get a lot less value out of it. Besides that, I think I think you talked about this earlier, but I think crosshair placement's doing pretty good, because we're aiming head level, so that's really nice.
Cool.
Tactical visor activated.
But it looks like our turns are slightly slow, and that's, I guess, us getting used to lower sensitivity. Do you have a larger mouse pad or a smaller mouse pad?
No, I think I need to get a bigger one.
Yeah.
Or I need to move.
Probably get a
move it
bigger one
over.
then, because you're gonna need a bigger one because when you have a lower sensitivity, you need to be able to move more space here. Because I have a pretty low sensitivity, and like if I'm just using my wrist here, I go like this, right? But if I'm using my entire arm, I can do a 360, right? So we want to be able to use our arm and do 360s here. It looks like we're having trouble turning to shoot at the right. We do this twice here. We look at us trying to track someone as like the Reinhardt as he comes through. We kind of trail behind him, right? Reinhardt charges in. we kind of trail behind him here, and then again in a second here, he's gonna run at us, and we had trouble turning here. Right, we're trying to turn and find him. Right, so we just that's just something
Yeah.
to figure out with your mouse pad and just your arm aiming. That's not necessarily an in-game thing to worry about, but that's something you'd have to figure out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a job to do. Fortifying defenses. You're not getting away.
A good decision to back out there. Means that you're watching kill feed. Just want to be a consistent thing, but good job there.
I recommend moving behind my barrier. Supercharger is
Alright, probably going to look to use Bongo when we push in here. Alright, so we have our whole team. We're pushing in. Good job. Alright, so far it's looking like we're just misunderstanding a lot of our abilities, though it does look like we're kind of understanding more so like what our role is, and we're using pretty good cover usage so far. We're putting our shield kind of near corners and whatnot, so that's really good. But here again, we kind of misuse our shift because there's no one really shooting at us too much, so it's not really going to get too much value.
Yeah.
Alright, we're also not using Bongo here. Just make sure we're looking to use Bongo earlier in the fight, right? We talked about using ults early in fights.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so, right? They get more value when you use them. It also means that you're not forced to hold on to them. You just want to use it here. Bongo, just as a fun tidbit, is Bongo is the highest winning fight ultimate in the game, so you will win the most fights out of any other ultimate in the game if you use Bongo. We just want to make sure we're using it, because then we'll get more Bongos available. We'll start charging up the next one, and we actually get value out of it rather than just losing the fight before we get to use it. Because if we look at, for example, the enemy soldier and enemy Moira use their ults, and now they get kills, they get value, and then if we use Bongo after that, we just don't get value, right? So they're winning the fight before we even get a chance here. So just want to make sure we're coming in and using Bongo earlier. It does last like a pretty long while, so we're using it pretty much at the start of the fight. Okay, I like going main a little bit better here. I don't think we should be going right side because, again, the difference in our compositions. We probably wouldn't do too well on the right side here. Now, they also have a back, or I guess they're basically the same thing as before. Sorry, never mind. But we probably want to be going main here. Again, we overlap. We've misused shift. So, again, just a lot of ability usage all over the place. Though Shield, I think, is looking very consistent. Shield is doing pretty good. I think that we're messing up our shifts a lot, and we're messing up our pulls. I want to look more at pulls because I think I've forgotten to look at them, but you just want to make sure that those are coming off off a cooldown every time we get them. Okay. So when it comes to our bongos, it is line of sight based. So if these guys can't see it, so if you're around this corner here and you can't see it, it means that bongo will not go to you. So therefore, you have basically two modes with bongo. You have a defensive bongo and you have aggressive bongo, right? When you are using a defensive bongo, you want to put it, it means that you're not trying to move and take space, right? An aggressive bongo is where you're trying to run into them. A defensive bongo is where they're running into you, right? When you're not moving and taking space, you want to put it around the corner, because when you put it around the corner or around cover, right, they can't shoot it and they can't break it, right? So if you're trying to, for example, if they were about to run into you in this room, we would place bongo over here so that they can't break the bongo and it boosts all of us in the room. But when we're trying to get aggressive, which, are we trying to get aggressive here?
Yes.
Yeah. What's going to end up happening is they're going to run around this corner and they're going to be outside of the bongo range. So here I think that bongo would be better, and basically what we want to do is we just want to make sure it has line of sight of our team. So here would probably be a little bit better if we maybe bongoed more towards right here, where now if it can see them if they run around this wall. It can see them if they go to point. It can see them if they're over here. See them if they're over here. Right, reaches a little bit further. Right, we're just using it a little too far back. A little not really giving a good line of sight. And then if our team pushes forwards here, we'll notice that it's just not going to get them. Right, so right, it's still up, yet now it only isn't going to get everyone in a second here, so it's going to cut off of us, right, and then cuts off of them, right, so now it's not getting its full value, so it's going to be wasting the last couple seconds of it, right, still up, right, so we wasted the last 5 seconds of it, and when we could have used it a lot closer. Now, Akira popped off and he killed everything.
Yep.
For your own safety, get behind the barrier. Nerf this!
Hey, now that is a good situation to use your shift. That's unfortunate that we got slept by the Ana. I don't know where the heck is the Ana at. Wait, they're on blue. We didn't kill her. How did we get? Oh, Ana's right inside of us. Okay, there's Ana at.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
here, if we're aware of where Ana's at, we just want to make sure we're paying attention. So maybe we can sleep before she gets to sleep. Sorry, we can shift before she sleeps us. That way we don't end up getting slept. So that may be the only thing to do. But good job using shift afterwards, though. Just want to be aware of her flanking us, so we don't end up getting slept, which is the big thing there.
Imagination is the essence of discovery.
All right. Monkey, I don't know if is the best pick here because it doesn't fit real well with the composition we're on. Monkey's a dive character, so running it with this comp doesn't really work too well. And then on top of that, we're running it into a Bastion, which is a pretty hard counter to a Monkey. It's going to be pretty difficult to get value on him. On top of that, Monkey's pretty much the worst tank right now.
Oh.
Maybe one of the worst characters in the game. So just not really wanting to be on him too often.
Vital signs raised.
So again, you can I could go down and play Monkey at any rank and get away with it. It's just more so that when you're playing a character that's not meta, it's gonna be more difficult. Not to say that you can't do it, especially if you main the character, but it's just gonna be harder.
Yeah.
On the objective. Rally to my position.
Okay.
Who's the second one?
Here, what's up with our team? We're down. Okay, we have 3 people walking back. All right.
I remember that situation. And we
Oh,
asked the exact same thing. What's up
Oh,
with the
right,
team?
yeah.
Where is everybody?
Yep. That was
We
that.
lost each other a bit.
All right.
Yeah, I should-
So I'm gonna take like 15 minutes at the end to do the whole wrap up and stuff. Would we like to spend this last 15 minutes then going over Akira, since I think this last 30 minutes was on Salty,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So would you
Oh, this was that terrible game.
what are you looking to go over here then, Akira?
Can I also send you a code?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this game went very bad very quickly. What's the second worst character in the game?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to answer that. It's more like the last time I heard it talked about, right? It was more like a bunch of different characters, like because there's kind of like a tier system. So, right, I can tell you the best character in the game. Best character in the game is Zenyatta at the moment, but he's getting nerfed soon. That's on experimental. Okay, so we're on Akira here, right? All right. So yeah, a lot of flippity flopping between roles and characters for you guys. I would probably recommend, especially sticking on a certain role, because when you're sticking on one role, a lot of the times the characters will translate into each other a little bit better. Actually, sorry, I messed that up. You were playing Lucio before, so you're sticking on the same role, but you're on Reaper before, so just in general, when it comes to practicing, try to stick on the same role, because that's going to be easiest for learning new things and getting better at the characters, is because they translate into each other very well. But at the same time, every character is going to be different, so you don't want to spread yourself too thin between too many characters, especially if you're just playing comp as comp, or you're practicing, or you're just like looking to improve. If you're just looking at that is the advice that is the most up to you out of anything I ever say, because it depends on what your goals are. If you're just trying to have fun, right? Play whatever characters you want to play. If you want to get better and improve, then the best way to do that would be to stick on something, and to kind of limit your the amount of characters you play. But it's completely up to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here we're starting off on the Reaper. Looks like.
Let's get you back out there.
All right. We haven't gone over Mercy before, have we?
No.
No. All right. So, are you aware of what overhealing is?
healing when there is full health.
Yep, basically what that is. And when we do that, that is essentially just wasting time. It's where we're just doing absolutely nothing. And we just want to get that habit out. So like for example, right here, that's overhealing on the Zarya. Right, we can see it again in a second. Here, right, overhealing on the Zarya. Okay, it was overhealing on the Zarya. Overhealing on the Hanzo a little bit. Overhealing the Reinhardt. Right.
Let me get you patched up.
So overhealing on the Hanzo, right? And that adds up, right? Because we just saw like 5 seconds there. In the course of a fight, that can add up to like 10 seconds ish, right? I've seen that with somebody else who had a really bad case of this that like it was like 13 seconds per fight that they were just doing absolutely nothing, which over the course of a 12-minute game means that you're wasting up to minutes of gameplay where you're doing absolutely nothing. So it really adds up, and it's just a really bad habit that you want to get out of. So what you do instead of this is as soon as you want to make sure that you're paying attention to health bars, and you can turn up your volume too, because whenever you heal somebody full HP, you'll hear a little ding. It'll be a steady ding, right? It'll at the very end it goes high pitched, right? So we want to pay attention to that, and as soon as we see that on our underneath our crosshair or we hear it, we swap the damage boost immediately, and we look for somebody else to heal or go to, right? We don't want to be
Yep.
sitting on healing, because that sitting on healing just means that we're doing nothing.
All over me. Let me get you patched up.
Right. Alright, I've seen very little damage boosting so far. So make sure we're looking at damage boost more often, especially like right here, you know, when Zarya's full HP. Right, we just want a damage boost. Okay, the other thing is that we want to be pocketing DPS more often. So on Mercy, you are a pocket character. So you thrive when you are pocketing characters such as DPS and then your other support, right? This is for a few different reasons. First off, Mercy does not have burst healing. So unlike Ana, like we can compare Mercy to Ana, Ana can heal up tanks very fast and easily because she does a whole lot of healing. Ana cannot heal DPS very easily because it requires mechanical skill, and a lot of the time they're spread out throughout the map. Mercy can heal DPS easily because she has a single beam pocket heals, which can both allow her to heal things and damage boost them and then up their damage much easier. And DPS also are the characters that do the most damage on your team, right? So it logically makes sense to damage boost the thing that does the most damage, and we can pocket them a lot easier than Ana can pocket them because we can fly around the map to get to them and go with them anywhere they want to go, right? So Mercy thrives when she's pocketing the DPS, and she can also keep the Ana alive, and then Ana's going to do best when she's healing the tanks, right? So we need to identify that, and then that's where we get what you call pocket targets. So right now, the two characters that we're looking at are Reaper and Hanzo. I'd probably say that they're both pretty decent at getting pocketed. They're both pretty good. So what you'd do is you would say, okay, well, if Reaper's is up close and shooting at stuff, we're on Reaper. If Reaper's not up close shooting at stuff, we're on Hanzo because he can shoot at any distance, right?
Yeah.
Now, what a pocket target is essentially is it acts as a default target. So it's not that we're going to be only on a pocket target and that is it, but what it does mean is that anytime nobody else needs healing and we're not going for a res, we're going back to the pocket target. So we can leave the pocket target if somebody else is low or they're in danger or the fight's over and we're just healing people up. Or if we're going for a res, right? So something important, we're leaving the pocket target, but once we've taken care of that and that's done, we go back to the default target because they're the best target for us to be on, right? So we haven't really been on our DPS at all so far, which are the characters we want to be on. Zarya is also pretty decent, especially but only when she's high energy. Here she is high energy, as we see from the glowing bulbs on her back, right? She is at 89, so that's gonna be really good. But most of the time you still want to stick with your DPS, especially at the very beginning, where Zarya wasn't at always high energy at the very beginning and we were still on her.
Yeah, makes sense.
Fire at will. Damage increase. Let's get you back out there.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Right, coming up on our ult here. lot of overhealing. Or we can count this out in like the next fight we get in and just see how much time that is, because it really adds up if you're doing it too often. So we'll do it from like the second the fight starts. Right, so we're just staggering them.
You needed a doctor?
Oh, good awareness so far. Like, you know, that awareness is looking pretty decent.
Damage amplified. Let me
We
get
do
you
not need to be on
patched
cart here. So when it comes to pushing cart, you have on any payload map, you have roughly 2 fights per point. So here we have one fight that happens either on this corner or somewhere around here on this little stretch, and then the second fight either happens anywhere on this bridge to the end of the point, right? And that is 2 single fights. It is going to be in a row, right? You will have more than that if you lose, and you will have less than that if you get stagger kills. So here we will probably only have one single fight because of the fact that we staggered them all. We never got a first fight here, and we only got and we just ended up killing them. But the thing why I'm telling you this is that these numbers do not change one bit whether or not you have 3 people on cart or 1 person on cart, right? The
Yeah.
only time you should ever have 3 people on cart is if you're like right here and you're trying to get it in and cap it before they get to point, right? That's a situation where you want to have a bunch of people on cart. But in this situation, we don't want to have 3 people on cart because what we want to do is be up with these guys and pocketing the DPS so that they can maybe get additional kills and stagger these guys, because these guys are a little bit pushed forwards while they still have 3 people dead in spawn, or 2 people dead and 1 person missing, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Which character do make most sense to stay on cart behind?
Ana. So Ana, like, you have 15 meters on your healing and damage boost. Ana does not have a range on her healing, right? So Ana would be
So basically anything range.
Yep, anything ranged, but you is also okay for Mercy to stay on card, especially if your team's a lot closer.
Yep.
And the other thing would be, like, for example, if your team is all going high ground for whatever reason, we could be the one sitting on cart because we could fly to them, right? Whereas nobody else on our team could do that besides Hanzo, so us or Hanzo would want to do it, because then we could just immediately get up top without, if they like kind of went to contest us, or sorry, Reaper could also do that too, right? To one of us 3, but Reaper and Hanzo also probably want to go be doing stuff.
Yep.
Sorry, but that also to clarify on that note as well, that also changes depending on where you're at, right? If we're on that's only for the first stretch here, because like we said, we have 2 fights. On the second fight, when they're about to contest the second time, the support does not want to be pushing cart. You want to have your tank pushing cart, because if the support's on cart, when they're about to cap point, where's the one place that they have to be? That they have to go. The enemy team has to go to.
Come again.
When we're about to cap point and we're about to
Yeah.
touch it, where's the one place that the enemy team needs to be?
On point.
Yep. So where's therefore the most dangerous place for support to be?
Well, also on point, yeah.
Yep. So we instead would want to be a little bit further back, and the tanks would want to be pushing cart because they would be the least likely to die. But usually on the first stretch, their objective isn't the point. Their objective is to win the fight. So we're not as much of a contest target. But over here, their objective is to contest the point, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to depend on the situation.
Ich bin da.
Okay, watch your spam jumping. I don't know if this is a bad habit that comes from playing Lucio.
Yeah.
Did we ever talk about spam jumping at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said last.
Just watch it. Not gonna be too bad of a thing. It's gonna be worse the higher up you go, but at the moment it's not gonna be too much of a problem.
Let's get you back out there.
Probably Falk it. Okay, good job. Good Falk. Go a little bit high here.
Dragon consume you!
Healing stream engaged. They're all over. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of overhealing. And a lot of healing on the Valk. So the healing is fine when they were blading because we're trying to keep our team alive. But the other thing to keep in mind is that most of the time when we're Valking, we're gonna want to go with the damage boost, unless our team's low. Like we talked about before, Orisa Bongo is the highest winning fight ultimate in the game, and that's because damage boosting 6 people is kind of nuts. It gets them their ultimates faster. It means that every single person is shooting and doing more damage. So you're going to be getting a whole lot of value out of that. It's probably going to be a lot more value than just healing. So pay attention to health bars. So kind of the same thing as when we were talking about our amps, is pay attention to the people, because here we go for the res, which is fine, right? But then look at our entire team, no one's really low on our team. If we look at the top right of our screen, right? No one's really low, and we keep healing, right? We keep healing, we keep healing, we keep healing, we keep healing, right? When we should be probably be on damage boost there, right? It's just a
Yeah.
lot of overhealing happening, which just results in unnecessary wasted time when we could be getting value. All right, now we're going to leave here and go over the review here.
Mhm.
All right, so let's start with Akira since we were just on you. We did Lucio and Mercy, and that's it, right?
Yep.
So Lucio starting off, in general, like I didn't have too much of a problem with your wall riding. We just needed to, like, when it comes to like the mechanics of it, you understand how that works. We just need to make sure that we're positioning ourselves near walls, and then also just looking to use them much more often. We're using them like 10-20% of the time when we should be looking to use them like 50 to 70% of the time. Like almost anytime we're moving somewhere, right, is we're using the walls to get there faster, right? So just make sure we're looking to do that. Ability usage was also a very big thing on our character, right? We wanted to make sure that we were using our abilities correctly because we ended up amping when nobody was low. So that both our abilities ties in very closely to our awareness. We didn't pay attention to health bars, and then that meant that we would like be in a fight when everyone was full HP and we'd just be like amp, right? And then nobody would get value out of it, and then it'd be a wasted ability. So just make sure we're paying attention to our amp, and we're amp healing anytime our team is critical and needs burst healing, or if we are critical and need burst healing. And if none of that is needed, then we can also do amp speed too. I don't think I ever saw us do, maybe like once or twice we used amp speed, but amp speed is going to be pretty decent as well. Especially if you're trying to get somewhere fast, or your team's trying to get somewhere like really, really fast, like run into the enemy team. Like especially if they're on like a brawl composition like we talked about, they want to be going in fast, really, really fast, so you can get on top of them. So that's a situation where you can amp speed in. Now on top of that, when to heal versus when to speed, right? Healing comes when our team's just kind of chilling in place and they're not wanting to go anywhere, or we're not wanting to go anywhere. But if we're trying to move somewhere, if we're trying to just cross this gap real quick, we go on the speed so we get across faster rather than just like kind of waltzing across, right? Or if our team's trying to run into the enemy team, we can speed them in, right, so that we're getting in faster, right? So anytime we're trying to move or our team's trying to move, we're on speed. Anytime that's not a thing, or the other time is if somebody's like critical and we're trying to heal them up, right? That's where we're on healing, right? So it just looked like we were on them at the wrong times. I don't think we were necessarily like too much in one direction. It was just always at the wrong times that we're using them. I think healing was just a little too much. You're looking, it's not, when it comes to them, it's gonna be like around 50-50. Don't try to look for that exact number, but it looks like we were like a little too much on the healing side, whereas more like 60-40.
Yeah.
So that's just like, a little too much healing. Now, moving on. What's next? So we have our beat. I only saw us use one single beat and it looked fine, so no problem with our beats. So good on that end, right? No problems. Nice timing with it, and good job paying attention to the ultimates that you need to use it for. Moving on, mechanics, not too much of a problem with that either. I don't think we really had a problem with our mechanics. We just did things fine. When you're looking to duel people, though, look to add in boops and melees, right, and aim each of your shots. Besides that, not too much of a problem. On to positioning and awareness, which were the two that we did struggle with. So positioning, we wanted to make sure that we are positioning ourselves next to walls and next to cover, right? A lot of times we just kind of be waltzing out in the open here, right? And where we are moving a lot slower around and taking a lot more damage because we can't use cover. So remember, good positioning is the usage of cover, because in half a second we can do this and they can't see us. But bad positioning is when we're out in the open and it takes us a couple seconds to get behind cover, right? When we're also away from walls and cover, we can't use speed, which obviously we're moving much, much, much quicker if we're speeding around than if we're just waltzing through the middle of the point, right? Now, on to two more things. Probably so we have awareness, and then I'll probably say we'll just do play style after that. So with awareness, make sure that you're paying attention to health bars, so that we're not amping in the wrong times, and that we're not healing and damage and speeding at the wrong times. So pay attention to health bars. Pay attention to what your team's wanting to do and where the enemy team's at. So just pay attention to where the characters in the field are doing and where they're at. So where enemies are at, where our teammates are at. Besides that, I think we had a good grasp on our HUD besides our health. Make sure you're paying attention to your health and you're requesting healing if you need healing. Besides that, I think we had a good grasp on the rest of our HUD. Our awareness for our kill feed was looking pretty solid. I think that it was, if I'm recalling correctly, I think it was Salty who maybe messed up like once with the tire especially. So I don't think that you had too many problems. Sometimes it can get confusing when I'm trying to go in between both of you, but I think that awareness is looking pretty solid for you with the kill feed, so keep that up. And then audio awareness was also looking really solid. Now, playstyle, make sure that you're looking to just be a little bit more aggressive with the attacking people and getting on people, especially if you see an opportunity, right? So when you see someone who's low, out of position, if you just are just poking and you make someone low by like shooting at them, then we can go in and get aggressive and finish off the targets. If you see, I like what you did with the Tracer a lot. We just looked to go in. We saw that she was going on our Ana, and we like kind of went in. We shot at her a bit. We booped her away, and then we just backed off, right? And she backed off as well, right? So we just kept going in and keeping her at bay. That's exactly what you want to look to do on Lucio, so keep that up. And then that's pretty much it for Lucio. We also went over Mercy.
Yep.
Mercy mechanics isn't really a thing at all. Ability wise, I think that Rez was looking. What did we? Okay, now I have to think. Dude, when did I see as Rez?
Only the one in the Valk, I think.
Yeah, we res in the Valk. So I don't think I saw Rez too often, but we didn't also play very much. Have much to talk about with Rez. Same thing with Guardian Angel. Honestly, like not too much to talk about on that end. Ultimate wise, make sure that we're looking to use damage boost with it, right? And we're not, unless people are critical. But a lot of this stuff is coming down to awareness and paying attention to health bars, because again, we're over healing, right? And this is just that adds up a lot of time where we're just doing absolutely nothing. So every time you see someone is full HP, right, you'll get a little. I can turn my volume here, right, and you can hear this. Like, just listen for the sound it makes, right? Listen to the sound it makes. Right, it makes a little ding at the end there, and that's how you can tell when somebody's full HP or not. Right, you're paying attention to health bars, and as soon as they're full HP, we swap over to damage boost, and we're looking for somebody else to heal, so we can heal other people. We're being more. As soon as they're full HP, we swap damage boost, and we look for someone else to heal. Make sure you're just damage boosting a little bit more often. When it comes to playstyle, again, make sure targets as pocket targets where we want to be on most of the time. That's going to be DPS most of the time, but like sometimes it can be some off tanks. Like for example, full charge Zarya is pretty good. While he's hooking someone is going to be pretty good. Just make sure we're sticking with DPS often. And then we're always defaulting back to them. So anytime someone doesn't need healing, anytime someone doesn't need a res or anything like that, we're going back to the best target possible. Other than that, make sure that you're just sticking with your team and you're not going positioning. I guess pretty much the same as like just sticking behind cover. Stay with your team. Don't go out in the open. And then that's pretty much it. Wasn't too much different than our Lucio besides just the playstyle thing. Alright, so main points for you. Let's see. Mechanics are not even on the board. I think mechanics is something that you did really solid in, and Mercy is not even necessary. Lucio is also not really too necessary, and I think your wall riding was good, and your shooting was fine, so not too much of a problem at all with mechanics. Ability usage, not on Mercy, but on... okay, so I'm just trying to think through what we were working with on each of these characters. So number one thing I'm probably going to say is awareness, as that resulted in a bunch of mistakes across our ability usage and our just positioning and our decision making. Right, it was just awareness fed into a lot of that. When you're not aware of what's going on around you, you make bad decisions. So that's going to be number one. Number two is going to be on Lucio specifically, ability usage. On Lucio specifically, yeah, ability usage is this number two. It would probably be even number one if it wasn't just basically feeding off of... like, the reason why we have bad ability usage is because we have bad awareness. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Right, on Mercy, not too much with the abilities, but on Lucio especially with the abilities. Moving on to number three, we have positioning. I'd probably say positioning with both of them. Number four is just a little bit of consistency with our ultimates, and then number five would just be mechanics, which mechanics don't really need too much of anything. And then on actually playstyle. Probably say playstyle for both of them would be really high as well. Maybe I would put playstyle above positioning, so as that being the number 3 spot is because we on Lucio we just want to be aggressive, and then on Mercy we want to be pocketing the right things. So playstyle would be maybe up there with either right next to positioning or right above positioning. So like 3 or 4 ish in that range. All right. Any
Yeah, makes
questions
sense.
about anything we've gone over?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, then moving on to Salty, we went over Junkrat and Rissa, and that's it. Is that it?
Mhm.
Right, Junkrat, a lot of different combo things. When we're going for a tire, make sure we're dropping a trap in front of us so that we can trap people. Big basic combo that I really, really want you to get this down is shoot mine. Right, this is gonna be a very easy way to kill people, and secure kills very easily. Just mine it and just try to stop yourself from just mining in there randomly, because that just boops people around. That makes it very much harder to kill people. So mine has 2 main purposes. You're using it for mobility, or using it for to kill, like finish up a kill, right? So we just end up tossing it in a lot and wasting it. So just really put a lot more concentration in your shots, or with your mines. Okay. Other than that, with your just such abilities, it's trap. Make sure you're using it more often, right? Like if we're just sitting on the high ground here, we can just toss it over the edge and just get it down there doing stuff. Other than that, so that's what our ability usage needs to work on. On mechanics, just make sure that we're not just holding down our spam, but we're like, what we'll do a lot of times, we'll just do this, or we're like kind of like all over the place, and we're not really like looking at anything in particular and just going into nothingness, right? Where we want to make sure we're targeting specifically, we're aiming it at where people are at, right? So we're aiming it in the direction of people. We're adjusting off of each shot because we can see where the first shot goes, and then adjust from there, right? So if the first shot misses, then we adjust the second shot, right? So we just want to make sure we're spamming where we know people are at and just adjusting accordingly. We're not just randomly shooting in there. All right. Ultimates, pretty decent. I think the only thing with our ult was that we just ended up using it when a fight was lost, which comes down mainly to awareness. So other than that, I liked a lot of them, and we did good with them. Not too much of a problem with our tires. They get a little bit more complicated the higher in ranks you go, and you might want to be something you can try to start doing is like just wait a second before you're going in. Is just give it a couple seconds, and when you run into a wall, this dulls the sound, and it means that now they have no clue where it's coming from, and that can confuse them. But that's not going to really be a tech that's necessary until the higher up in ranks, because they won't be able to react to it very fast at this rank. Now, moving on to awareness and positioning. Positioning, make sure we're not walking out in the open and we're taking high grounds as often as possible. That gives us good positions to kill stuff from. On top of that, on Junkrat, make sure you're playing at a medium to close range, which is going to be like probably within like 20 meters. So you don't want to be like right here on top of somebody all the time, because that can get a little bit dangerous, though it is a range that you like to play at because you can kill things very easily like that. You want to be more towards like this in here, right? So we can stick within this range. That makes it very easy to follow up with kills and damage, and not standing too far away, because when you're spamming, you can do this, but it's just a lot harder, right? Make sure you're respecting cover usage. Then awareness, watch kill feed, as that led to a bunch of mistakes when we just weren't paying attention to kill feed. We ended up staying in fights too long, and we ended up ulting in fights. Other than that, I think that we need to HUD watching. Let's see what I don't think we struggled much with HUD watching. Character wise, I don't think that we struggled too much with characters. So I think the big one when it came to awareness was just watching kill feed. At least that's what I recall, unless you're... Sorry that you came 30 minutes ago, so sorry about that if I'm forgetting some things here. Now, moving on to... I think that was it for Junkrat, right? So moving on to Orisa, right? On Orisa, ability usage was all out of whack, right? Shield was fine, just make sure placing on the corners, right? So that they you get a lot of value out of it. You playing off of corners, as well as making it so half the shield isn't even visible, so you can't shoot at it and do more damage to it. Pull, make sure you're pulling people up in the air, as this means that you can have more of a drop time on them, and it gives them more time where they can't really move away. Other than that, just shift usage is really, really whack. Make sure you're not overlapping shield with shift, because then you're wasting your shift. You use your shift when you know that you're going to be taking a lot of crowd control or a lot of damage, right? You don't want to be using it when you're just getting tickled, because then you're not really getting any value out of it. You want to use it when you know one of those two things are coming in. Other than that, pull off cooldown. Ultimates, make sure you're using it, you're not holding on to it. and then watch the aggression level when you're using it, right? Because if you're trying to go aggressive, it needs to be able to see your team, but if you're playing passive, then it wants to be around the corner. So if we're trying to run in on point here, rather than placing it around the corner here, being defensive with it, we'd probably just place a shield, plop it down in the open, and then just get a super aggressive, because then it can see everyone on point and help them out,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Positioning, make sure you're next to cover, and besides that, not too much else. Just make sure on Orisa your spam characters to play at a further distance. That was the other thing. When it comes to awareness for both of you, just make sure you're paying attention to team comps. That was just a both of you thing, is just pay attention to that, because that'll affect your team comp dictates playstyle. You're going to be playing differently when you're on different team comps and against different team comps, right? So that's the first thing that you always want to pay attention to each game, is like, what's the enemy team running, what's our team running.
Yeah.
Then final thing was, I think awareness is pretty much the same as as Junkrat. So for you, main things that need to be worked on, probably say ability usage is number 1, because we messed up quite a bit of things on both Orisa and Junkrat just with our ability usage. Number 2 is going to be, let's put that at, it's hard. I'm gonna put number 2. Honestly, a lot of these different ones for you are very, very close. They just need to get a lot more consistent in all these different areas, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily too far apart. I'd probably say the best thing that you're working with was your ultimate usage, and then the worst the worst one was just your ability usage. So then awareness was looking pretty fine, or not pretty fine, they were looking in the middle, right? Positioning was looking in the middle, and then finally mechanics is looking in the middle. So I'd probably say that's the order you're looking with. Ultimate, the only reason why your ultimate was bad at all was just because of your awareness, right? That just fed into a bad ult or two, right? And then on top of that, I guess on top of that, we also didn't use it on, so that's really hard. So just keep in mind for yourself that I would probably say it's not too, probably not too important which one you go over first, because they're very similar. And this might also just be harder because I went over you a little bit a while ago. But just make sure you're focusing on one thing and you're not going over all of them at once, right? If there's nothing really in particular you want to work on first, then just pick something and focus on it. So just to give you an order, I'd probably just, if I were to say something, I'd probably say just awareness, or sorry, not awareness, ability usage is number 1. Probably say awareness would come in as number 2, causing a lot of mistakes and problems. Positioning as number 3. And then mechanics is number 4, because we just end up missing a lot of shots on Junkrat. And then ultimate usage is number 5, as we just had some problems that would be fixed by awareness, as well as just make sure we're using it often, right? Any questions on anything we've gone over?
No, that was really, really helpful.
All right. Well, then I'm going to end the recording here.